During this lesson, we will make a backup of the network configuration file, then edit the original file to include the new parameters of the network interface card. If you are carrying on with a newly installed Linux server, then the VirtualBox machine will be set to NAT. If the Linux server is running, after logging in with your details, shut the machine down using the command sudo halt. When the message "System halted" appears, then close the window. Select the nominated machine within the VirtualBox, then click on Settings, then Network. Click on Attach To, and if set as NAT, change to Internal Network. Click on Advanced, and ensure the cable connected is enabled. Click on OK, then start the machine. You may find as it restarts, the machine may seem to hang at one point and a message will appear. A start job is running for raised network interfaces. This is because the Linux server default setting for the network interface has been configured for DHCP. So we'll hang at this point and wait for, in our example, 5 minutes 8 seconds to be assigned an IP address. Naturally, since this is the only machine currently running, this process will fail and will continue to run after this time has expired. Since about October 2015, the Ubuntu has gone through some radical changes. One of these changes has been to the network interfaces. Therefore, some of the old command functions will no longer work. One of these changes has been the naming of the network adapters. We can check the current naming using the following command: ls sys class net. Here we can see the names ENP0S3 and LO. The naming system is quite different to what we have been used to, but the EN stands for Ethernet, the P for PCI, and the 0S3 is the number of the PCI slot that the interface adapter occupies. The LO is for loopback address. To display the network configuration of these adapters, we can use the command ifconfig. We can see here that the properties of the ENP0S3 and LO. ENP0S3 displays only an IP version 6 address, as expected the loopback address shows the inet address of 127.0.0.1, along with a mask of 255.0.0.0. We shall now reconfigure the network adapter by assigning it with a static address, and to do this we shall have to edit the file called interfaces. This file can be found in a subdirectory called network, found in the etc directory, which can be used in the similar way to the device manager within Windows. Each time we add a new NIC to this system, we would update this file with the new configuration details. Until we are familiar with Linux commands, it would be a wise precaution to back up any files that may alter the way the operating system behaves. Then, if any errors occur, it will be just a case of restoring the file from the backup. To back up the interface file, we use the command sudo cp etc network interfaces etc network interfaces.back. So we are taking the file interfaces that is in the subdirectory called network that exists within the directory called etc. We then make a copy called interfaces.back within the same directory. If prompted, re-enter your password. If an error occurs, recheck the command line for spaces and spelling. To check if the file has been copied successfully, we can use the command lsetc network. This will list all the files within the directory called network. Here then are our two files, the original and the backup. Let's assume that you have decided to discard the changes within the interface file after editing it. You can then copy the backup file over the current version. The syntax is basically the reverse of the last command, which is sudo cp etc network interfaces.back etc network interfaces. If you type this in correctly, then you will not have any messages, since the original file has now been overwritten with the backup file. To edit the original interface file, we can use the command sudo nano etc network interfaces, nano being the editing tool we shall be using. Here you will find a number of statements. Some of these start with the hash sign. These statements are comments, also known as remarks, or rem for short, and have no effect on the operation of the file. We can see the very first line, for instance, that contains the hash sign. This is always useful to leave rems should it be necessary to edit a file for future reference and inform others that may also have access to the same file. When the file is executed, these remarks are ignored. In programming and scripting, commenting is regarded as good practice. When editing a file, it is also good practice to rem a line rather than deleting it. This configuration file is split into two parts. The first deals with the loopback address, which is set at 127.0.0.1 and is referred to as auto-LO. In most cases, this will be the same and should not be altered. The text that is of interest to us is auto enp0s3, iface enp0s3 inet dhcp. This tells us that the network adapter called enp0s3 has been set to find a DHCP server. Since there is not one connected, it hung for some time looking for one, then it timed out when we rebooted the server. With Linux, we are required to define the following parameters. Is the IP address dynamic or static? If static, what is the IP address? If static, what is the net mask, known as the subnet mask in Microsoft Windows? If static, what is the broadcast address, which is optional? Since we are dealing with TCP/IP, the notations for these values are the same. That can be found when configuring a network interface card in Microsoft Windows. Rather than deleting the line that refers to the network adapter and the DHCP server, we shall use the rem function. So at the start of this line, we shall insert a hash character. Using the N key and pressing enter will give us a new line. Next, we have to give a static address to the adapter, so the next line will read iface emp0s3 inet static. This tells the interface file that this adapter has a static address. Next, we enter the IP address we want to use. When entering the text, check your spelling and notice that there are no uppercase characters. Check the spaces and that the enp0s3 contains a 0 and not the letter O. To save this file, hold down the Control key and press the X key for exit. You will be then prompted to save the file, so we choose Yes. You will then be given the opportunity to change the file name. Since we do not want to do this, we will just press the Enter key. Now let's see what's happened to the configuration of the adapter by using the ipconfig command. You should find that there is little or no difference. These configuration files, such as the one that we have just edited, are executed on startup or when Linux boots. This is logical since a server needs to be found easily on a network, whether the service is providing a printer, file or IP address service. It should be accessible to all hosts on the same network. Let's restart the server using the sudo reboot command. Now we should check the configuration again for this network adapter. We can see here that the changes have taken effect. Using Linux Server can be difficult since spaces, upper or lower characters are important. Should you not arrive at the same result, remember there is a backup file